What does it take for a company to go from a humble garage to the most valuable name in history? Today we unravel the story of Apple, a journey packed with wild innovation, breathtaking drama, and record-shattering moments on the stock market. For nearly 5 decades, Apple has been more than just a tech brand. It's a pioneer of big ideas, crazy comebacks, and seismic shifts in culture, design, and investing. How did this company crash, almost disappear, and surge back in a way that still makes Wall Street and the tech world stop and stare? Whether you own an iPhone, invest in Apple stock, or just dream big, this is the story that will show you the power of vision, resilience, and reinvention. Get ready. From that famous Silicon Valley garage through near bankruptcy to becoming the world's first $3 trillion giant, this is the Apple story. Long before Apple became a household name, it was just a wild idea shared by 2 friends in Los Altos, California. In 1976, 21-year-old Steve Jobs and 26-year-old Steve Wozniak, both dreamers and hackers, joined forces to build a computer that was different, simple, affordable, and for everyone. But they didn't do it alone. Ronald Wayne, the rarely mentioned third co-founder, joined for a short time, drawing the first Apple logo and helping with company paperwork. Wayne's story is a legend itself. He sold his 10% stake for $800, missing out on what would have been billions. Their first product, the Apple One, wasn't flashy. Jobs sold his Volkswagen van, and Woz sold his calculator to fund the adventure. With just 50 hand-assembled units, the Apple I set them on the path. Success truly arrived with the Apple II in 1977. Color graphics, a revolutionary open architecture, and serious buzz. Apple was officially incorporated. Investors took notice. In 1980, Apple went public. The initial offering was one of the biggest in history, instantly creating hundreds of millionaires and putting Apple's name alongside Silicon Valley giants. By the early 1980s, Apple was riding high as the face of American tech optimism. But behind the scenes, competition was heating up, and bigger challenges were just around the corner.
Today we celebrate the first glorious anniversary of the Information Purification Directives. We have created, for the first time in all history, a garden of pure ideology. We shall prevail.
On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh. And you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984.
Apple's incredible early momentum raced forward with a single, audacious idea: the Macintosh. In 1984, Steve Jobs introduced the world's first mass-market computer with a graphical user interface, the legendary Mac. Its splashy debut, highlighted by the iconic SuperBowl ad directed by Ridley Scott, declared, "1984 won't be like 1984." The world was smitten. The Macintosh was friendly, bold, and completely different, not just for geeks, but for anyone with a dream. It put the power of creativity into the hands of millions, rewriting expectations of what a computer could do. But Apple's glory would not last forever.
Industry losses for 1983 outshadow even the combined profits of Apple and IBM for personal computers. It is now 1984.
As the dust of success settled, challenges appeared. IBM, the mighty Big Blue, struck back with its all-business PC. A new breed of competition was on the horizon. Microsoft began its ascent, powering IBM's machines with MS-DOS, and later the first versions of Windows. Tensions inside Apple soared. Creative differences, clashes over direction, and a relentless drive for perfection brewed conflict at the top. In a decision that sent shockwaves through Silicon Valley, the Apple board ousted Steve Jobs in 1985. The company's brightest visionary was forced to leave the company he'd started. With Jobs gone, Apple began to drift. The Macintosh struggled in the market. Leadership changed hands. Innovation slowed, and the competition only grew fiercer. The stage was set for some of the darkest years in Apple's history. A cliff Apple would have to climb down before it could climb back up. The mid to late 1980s were tough years for Apple. After the initial fanfare of the Macintosh, sales quickly lost steam. The promise of bringing a computer for the rest of us was met with real-world setbacks. Macs were expensive, underpowered, and couldn't run the software most businesses needed. Office managers stuck with IBM and its growing army of IBM-compatible PC clones. With Steve Jobs gone, the spirit of bold innovation faded. Leadership changed hands rapidly. Scully, Spindler, Emilio, each CEO tried to find a way forward, but the company grew bloated and directionless. As Apple's losses mounted, the media became increasingly skeptical. Apple Records, big loss and can Apple survive, became common refrains. The stock price sank, market share disappeared, and innovation slowed to a crawl. Competitors, Microsoft, Dell, HP, ate Apple's lunch. By the mid-1990s, Apple was on life support. Many experts believed the company would be bought out, split up, or simply vanish. But when things seemed darkest, fate, and some very bold decisions would set the stage for the greatest comeback in business history.
With the stock hitting rock bottom and a string of failed products, the crisis at Apple seemed insurmountable.
By the mid-1990s, Apple's story seemed all but finished. The company's stock was in freefall. Layoffs and losses made daily headlines. The world expected a bankruptcy notice any day. But as rumours swirled of a takeover or breakup, Apple made a decision that would change everything. They brought back Steve Jobs. Jobs returned in 1997, not as the young visionary of old, but as a battle-hardened entrepreneur. In the years away from Apple, he'd founded Next, a computer company.
His new computer, called Next, is a $6,500 workstation aimed at higher education, students and teachers.
And helped Pixar become a titan in digital animation. Now he was back to save his first company from collapse. On his arrival, Jobs wasted no time. He slashed confusing product lines, streamlined Apple's workforce, and installed a focus on design and innovation.
Departure from Apple.
Oh, it was very painful. I'm not even sure I want to talk about it. What can I say? I hired the wrong guy.
That was Scully?
Yeah. And
his leadership style, at times abrasive, always demanding, drove a new urgency throughout the company. Even more shocking, he struck a deal with longtime rival Microsoft, a $150 million investment, and continued Mac Office support the stock market. Skeptical at first, barely reacted. But change was coming. Apple had clawed its way back from the brink. The iMac brought style, colour, and design back to personal computing. Then came the iPod, a tiny device with 1,000 songs in your pocket. Music and technology would never be the same, but the world was about to see Apple's most audacious move yet. In January 2007, Steve Jobs walked on stage with a single device that would change everything: the iPhone. An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. Are you getting it? Apple didn't invent the cell phone, but the iPhone was something else: sleek, powerful, and a gateway to the mobile internet. Apple shattered expectations. The App Store arrived, unleashing a digital gold rush for developers and users alike. Stock prices soared. Apple launched the iPad and quietly reshaped nearly every industry: music, telecom, entertainment, even retail through its iconic stores. By 2018, Apple became the first US company worth $1 trillion. Over the next few years, milestones followed: $2 trillion, $3 trillion. Apple's devices weren't just gadgets, they were companions, status symbols, and for many an indispensable part of life. With the iPhone, Apple didn't just make noise, they became the orchestra, the conductor, and the concert hall. The company's stock became a benchmark for tech's power and potential. But as Apple grew, so did the challenges, the scrutiny, and the pressure to keep innovating. Behind every new Apple device, the world watched something else soar: Apple's stock. From near worthlessness in the 1990s, AAPL became a blue-chip legend. Apple's stock splits, 2000, 2005, 2014, and 2020, drew headlines as everyday investors clamoured to get in. After the iPhone's launch, the share price skyrocketed, turning early believers into millionaires. Apple's financial milestones dazzled Wall Street and Main Street alike. In 2018, it became the world's first company valued at $1 trillion. Just 2 years later, it doubled that feat, $2 trillion in 2020. By the mid-2020s, as their ecosystem expanded and more global consumers joined the fold, Apple crossed the $3 trillion mark, cementing its place as the most valuable company on the planet. But the ride upward wasn't always smooth. Apple faced tech sector crashes, global recessions, and fierce new competitors. Each time Apple released a blockbuster product, be it the iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, or AirPods, its value soared. When hype faded, rumors swirled, or broader markets stumbled, the stock took dramatic dips. Yet, time and again, Apple rebounded, testing the faith of investors, and often rewarding it handsomely. By delivering innovation, cultivating loyalty, and smartly branching into services, Apple became more than just a company. It was both a bellwether and a symbol, proof that vision, execution, and timing can move not just products, but the world's wealth itself. The world changed again in August 2011. After years of health struggles, Steve Jobs stepped down as CEO, passing the torch to Tim Cook. Skeptics worried, could Apple thrive without its visionary founder? But Cook, detail-obsessed and quietly relentless, led Apple on a new path. Under Cook, Apple didn't just maintain its lead, it expanded it. New hits reshaped the company. The iPad reached new audiences, the Apple Watch made wearables mainstream, AirPods became a cultural icon, and Apple Silicon set new standards for computing power and efficiency, all while Apple embraced sustainability, accessibility, and privacy as core values. Apple Park, the sprawling new headquarters, stood as a symbol of the company's ambitions and global reach. Apple's journey is more than the rise and fall of a company. It's a story about innovation, risk, failure, and resilience. From a cluttered garage in California to dominating Wall Street, Apple redefined how we interact with technology and with each other. The lessons: vision matters, focus and simplicity triumph, and the power of design can change the world. Apple's willingness to challenge convention, a trait seeded by Steve Jobs and carried forward by Tim Cook, transformed whole industries and habits. But with success comes responsibility, privacy debates, sustainability commitments, and endless questions about what's next. The Apple story is a reminder, no matter the setbacks, bold ideas, and the passion to pursue them can change everything. The next chapter is unwritten. The world and Apple will be watching.